Episode 8 for Halloween 2022, Love Tokens by Constance Fay. Hello and welcome to CatsCast, your monthly feline fiction podcast. I'm your editor and host, Laura Pearlman. Today, I'm happy to bring you our Halloween special, Love Tokens by Constance Fay. This story is a CatsCast original. One content note, this story includes a little light dismemberment. It's fine. Our author this week is Constance Fay. Constance Fay lives in Denver, Colorado. She works in medical devices by day and writes by night, accompanied in both by a very opinionated cat. Her fiction has appeared in the horror anthology 99 Tiny Terrors, Crow and Cross Keys, and the magazine of fantasy and science fiction. Her website is www.constancefay.com, and she can be found at Constance E. Fay on both Twitter and Instagram. Our narrator this week is Tatiana Gray. Tatiana Gray is a critically acclaimed actress of stage, screen, and the audio booth. She has been nominated for dozens of fancy awards but hasn't won a single damn thing. She lives in a minuscule apartment in Brooklyn, New York, which she hopes to move out of one day because they don't allow cats. What a travesty. Now clear some room in your freezer and listen closely, because there's something we need to tell you.
Love Tokens by Constance Fay. Narrated by Tatiana Gray. The cat in my living room has a human finger in her mouth and love in her eyes. This is disturbingly wrong for a number of reasons. First and foremost, I don't have a cat. Second, I live in a third-floor apartment and the windows are closed. Third, and it bears repeating, human finger. It's the third day in a row the dark-furred, brindled cat has appeared, with increasingly heavy body parts dangling from her jaws. Day one was an ear, I think. It's hard to tell once it's been in a cat's mouth for a while. When I called the police, they stared at the ear, then at me. The cat, by then, was long gone to wherever she goes when she's not breaking into my home with human parts. I tried to follow her, but I looked away for a second, and she vanished. The cops clearly didn't believe my cat story. I haven't even been able to capture a photo of the critter. I'm probably on a watch list somewhere now. I didn't even tell my boyfriend. Enough people think I'm crazy. Day two was a toe, polished with a pop of bright pink. Something about that polish twisted a bit in my chest. It was so very normal. I think I even have the same color, called something saucy like petticoat pink or punky petal. The cops didn't even show up on day two. They asked me to drop the toe off at the station, which led me to driving around with a toe in a baggie full of ice, terrified of getting pulled over for a speeding ticket because how do you explain cargo like that? Now it's day three, and the furry little muzzle is wrapped around what appears to be an index finger. Hey, cat, I say in the closest I can come to a soothing voice. You gotta stop bringing me this stuff. The internet says cats bring prey to their owners as a form of caretaking. Vaguely sweet, unless you have a cat popping out of nowhere with human limbs in her mouth. The cat purrs. Again, vaguely sweet, except the sound is reverberating out from around a bloody digit. I nudge a magazine under her mouth to catch the finger if she drops it. She obliges, and it tumbles into the magazine with a dull thump. I rear back like the finger is a cockroach, and she takes advantage of my distraction to thrust her head into my hand, fur silky soft and warm. I freeze, fingers curled over her jaw and ear as she vibrates in bliss. It's a deeply contented sound. A serial killer cat has adopted me. Good girl, I say, because that's the polite thing to say to a cat when she brings you something, even if I'd rather she didn't. I attempt a little scritch along her jaw, and she seems to enjoy it. She's wearing a woven collar around her throat with a name stitched on it. Stella. It's a good name. When I was little, my neighbor had a cat named Stella. I always thought I might steal that name if I got a pet of my own. She gives an urgent little mew, looking at the kitchen. Then she does one of those cat things. You know the ones. She moves her attention to my coat closet door and stares intently. There's nothing in the closet except coats, cat. Because when a cat appears in one's house and does the impossible, it's always best to assume they understand human language. Stella abandons the finger, bloody message delivered, and saunters over toward the closet. She paws on the door, meowing urgently. A key rattles in my lock. I twist the magazine into a roll around the finger and shove it into my back pocket. It's Sean. He said he'd come by after work, but I lost track of time, and now I'm hiding a severed finger because if my boyfriend sees it, he'll have questions. I have questions. The police have questions. I'd like to have one person in the world who thinks I'm normal. I glance back to Stella, but she's gone. She's always gone, just as quietly as she appears with her grisly little surprises. Sean bustles into the apartment in a whirlwind of stomping feet, rattling umbrella, and crinkling grocery bags. He's a noisy man. He never learned about inside voices, and his temper is like a fast-burning fire. Everything about Sean attracts attention, while everything about me sloughs it away. I guess that's why we work together. Or why we won't. It's late in the evening when I remember the rotting finger in my back pocket. I don't know what to do with it, so I put it in my freezer. Another day, and Stella's back. This time she has a ring finger. I know that because of the ring, decoratively bedecking said finger. It's a diamond, or a zirconia, I don't really know the difference. I think it's a diamond because I can't imagine anyone would buy a zirconia that small. You gotta stop doing this, Stella. She makes a little plop sound and drops the finger on my nicely upholstered sofa before hopping to the floor and scent-marking the hell out of my coffee table. She gets to the far corner and springs back like it's scalding hot. Then she stands in front of a kitchen cabinet and yodels for a while. Cats are weird. I grab some tongs and use them to pick up the finger. The ring falls off and rolls under my sofa, but that's the least of my concerns. The finger has a birthmark, a little freckle just above the gnaw marks at the point of removal. I have that birthmark on the ring finger of my left hand. Millions of people must have freckles on their fingers. It's common, probably. The nails are filed short. The skin color could be my own, deader than mine. I can't get over the sense of familiarity, but that's silly because my finger is clearly still attached. I bend it, watching carefully as though it's an illusion that I can fool. Nope. Still my finger. Still attached. I'm losing my mind. When I look up, Stella is gone again. I put this finger in the freezer next to the other. The 5th day, there's no cat. Sean is mad that I refuse to leave my sofa all day. I'm waiting for Stella, and I'm going to catch her when she arrives. We spend the day watching streaming TV, but I don't even remember what show. Something about chefs. We get in a fight about it for some inane reason. It's the kind of fight that descends into a full-on row, and eventually Sean storms into my bedroom, which leaves me out on the sofa, in my own house. Eventually I fall asleep. I wake up on the sofa at around midnight. Moonlight filters through the blinds in little bars, splayed along the wall. The Chinese delivery is spread on the coffee table, one box knocked over in the corner where Sean usually props his feet. I should clean it up, but I can't bring myself to move, and I just lay on the sofa watching the moonlight play on the wall. It wavers on the edge of my coat closet. A strange warp in the light, as though it's hitting water. Feeling like a sleepwalker, I push my way to my feet and approach the closet. The carpet is soft under my feet. My hand brushes against the layer of darkness on the edge of the warp, and it disappears. Not the darkness. My hand disappears. I yank it back, hoping it hasn't been divested of 2 of its fingers. It's fine. I'm not fine, though. I just found some sort of tear in my wall, but it's not through plaster and plywood, it's through reality. I grab a chopstick off the table and toss it through. It vanishes. I take the hair tie off my wrist and flick it through. A cat head pops out of the ripple of light, hair tie in its mouth. It drops the tie and retreats into its dimensional ripple. I yelp and fall back. Sean barks out a snore. It's a sliver of normalcy in such a surreal moment that it inspires me to do something deeply stupid. I stick my head through the ripple in the wall. I'm disoriented and dizzy and somehow staring out from my closet door towards the living room. There's my sofa, my coffee table, divested of Chinese food. I crank my head around and see the wall and door frame behind me. I pull my head out of the ripple, and the wall and door frame is in front of me, the living room behind me, Chinese food intact. In one impulsive moment, I crawl through the ripple in the wall. It's just barely large enough for me to do so. It's like pushing through a layer of jello, something viscous and thicker than air, something that coats my skin. I crawl out of an identical ripple into my living room. This one has a cat in it. She's retreated to my bedroom doorway, gnawing on one of her claws. Better than a finger. I'm still possessed of that half-asleep brain that manages to take this oddness in stride. My kitchen stands where it usually does. It has a new fridge, but the same knives in the knife block. I trace my fingers over the familiar steak knives that my parents gave me when I graduated college. The fridge holds my usual staples, leftover rice and beans, cherries, Greek yogurt, nothing to explain the rotting food stench that's permeating my apartment. Stella gives a little mew from the bedroom door. When I don't approach, she pauses in the door, looking back at me. The mew is worried now, plaintive. Will I find myself in there, asleep? Sean? At this point, I'm committed to the exploration and I follow the cat into my bedroom. I'm right. But I am so wrong. I'm on the bed, but I'm not asleep. I'm a green, pale color and I smell appallingly bad. I'm not breathing. I'm missing an ear, a toe, and 2 fingers, and I'm never going to ask for them back. Luckily, my bathroom is in the same place as usual because I blindly run there and stick my head in the toilet just in time. My stomach heaves and ripples and I lose the Chinese takeout. Long after my stomach is empty, I'm still gagging. It's not every day you see your own dead body. Especially not in that shape. There's an indignity about it. It's not like I'm lovingly stored in a casket, dressed in my best. I'm rotting in my bedroom, and it appears no one has noticed that I'm missing. When I come back to myself, I'm quivering on the floor of the bathroom with acid in my mouth and tears in my eyes. Stella's pressed hard against my legs, purring again, and it strikes me that she's trying to soothe herself, not express anything to me. I reach down and pull her onto my lap, burying my wet face in her fur. And miraculously, she lets me. It's a long time before I'm ready to leave the bathroom and face the rest of the apartment. Longer still before I actually do it. Stella follows me out, belly low to the floor and ears flat. My hands clench in fists as I study my body. My hair's a little different. Highlights, I think. I'm wearing clothes, not pajamas. They're twisted around my body, and a mottled bruise is bold around my throat. I'm not only dead, I'm murdered. On the upside, the cat is exonerated. I'm sure she's relieved I've cleared her of the crime. I remember the ring on the finger. This me is engaged or married. So why didn't my partner call the police? Why am I languishing in my bed with no one but a cat to notice my death? Some fiancé. A little investigation unearths a framed photo of me and Sean, cheeks pressed together over a hibachi table, me proudly showing off my tiny ring. I don't even like hibachi. Maybe this me does. I make one more trip to my body. My hand is clutching something. A little fiddling reveals the stupid dude bro necklace with a carved fishhook on it that Sean wears as though it's his personal totem. I'm not ready to think about what that means, but a chill clutches the small of my back like an icy fist. I clean out Stella's litter box and take all her food from the pantry. "You can't stay here," I say to her, poor thing. I guess I do have a cat. I just never knew it. She's been trying to warn me of something for days, and I've been too dumb to figure it out. "If you come home with me, I'll take care of you." I push the litter box through the ripple in the wall, toss through the bag of canned food, and then the cat. She gives a pissy little yowl, but when I come through right after her, she doesn't try to get back to the other apartment. I crack open a can of food for Stella and retreat to my sofa. The ripple in the coat closet tickles at my peripheral vision, like when you hear just the edge of a song and can't tell who sings it. It's a hollow, incomplete melody. I'm a breath away from my own dead body. I'm a world away from it. Wet smacking sounds come from the kitchen. Stella is guzzling down her food. Poor thing's probably starving. I open another can for her. Sean grunts out a snore from the bedroom. The cat leaps and shoots a wary glance in his direction. I can't go in there. How can I look at my bed without seeing my own body splayed out and rotting? How did I get that way? I'm engaged to Sean in that other world, happy and full of hibachi. Based on Stella's gifts, I've been dead for 5 days at the very least, but no one has noticed. I'm not in a morgue or a funeral home. No fingerprint powder coats my walls. Why didn't he call the police? Why didn't he notice I'm dead? The obvious answer is because he killed me and I ripped his necklace off while he was doing it. The cat joins me on the sofa, pointy little shoulder jabbing into my hip. It's like now that she's communicated her message, she doesn't want to let me out of her sight. I don't want to lose that connection either. I hope I'm not a big downgrade from the other me. Well, I have a heartbeat, which seems like an advantage. Can you break up with someone because you suspect they murdered you in another dimension? It's a question that haunts me as I spend the rest of the night on the sofa, watching the ripple in the wall near my coat closet. I wake up alone and infuriated, but with a plan. I've been murdered, and someone needs to pay for that. Sean leaves the apartment without killing me in this world, and I cancel my first 2 remote meetings of the day. Stella and I return to the other world through the rift in my wall. It's like diving into a pool that's just at room temperature, soup gone cold. In the light of day, I can see more subtle differences. This me has my old coasters. I replaced them after I broke one a month ago. The picture in the blue frame on her bookshelf is a familiar one from a family vacation in Mexico. The one next to it is different. A childhood photo that I never posed for, dressed in red shorts in front of the Grand Canyon. We are similar, but not the same. Not exactly. Maybe something happened to me in the Grand Canyon that changed my life subtly. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it gave me a great affection for hibachi, so great that I confused the steaming table and onion-thick air for the fog of love and agreed to marry a man who would eventually murder me. I pick up my cell phone from its charger, right by my bed, in this world as in my own. It unlocks at my face, and Sean is my first contact. When he answers the phone, he sounds wary. When I say, "Hey babe, what's up?" he sounds terrified. That's what I know for sure. I knew it before, academically, but this is a gut-deep knowing, one that opens a door to a new space in my mind. I explore that space tentatively. An icy wind howls through it. It seems we have a lot to talk about. You should stop by. Otherwise, my fingers might get itchy. 911 is so easy to call, and the bruises haven't faded yet. I hang up. There are 3 scenarios. Only one ends with Sean alive at the end of this. 1, he comes over to finish the job he assumes he only half did. 2, he comes over to apologize and try to cajole me into taking him back until he kills me again in a week or a month or a year. 3, he never comes over at all. In option 3, I'll call the police and suggest Sean killed someone in my apartment. Option 1 and 2 are different. I go to that familiar knife block and distribute blades throughout the house because I can't be sure where he'll make his move and I don't want to be caught by surprise. Again. I could wait around to find out why Sean tried to kill me, but honestly, I don't care. Your own murder is a visceral affront. I understand why poltergeists are so notoriously angry. What am I in this world other than a ghost? And, like a ghost, I am hungry. I eat a few pretzels as I wait for Sean to arrive, balancing a knife on the palm of my hand. It feels light. Stella walks on the countertop, giving me a bold stare as she does so. I'm pretty sure she's not allowed up there. I wouldn't permit that in any other world. Then again, my dead body is rotting away one room over, so I can't worry too much about the cleanliness of this apartment. I close the bedroom door and return to the kitchen, studying the cat on the counter. It's fine in any world but mine, I tell her, and she yowls back. Sean is noisy as usual when he climbs the stairs to my apartment. I adjust the knife until it's hidden behind my arm. He opens the door. The idiot brought flowers. Not even good ones. Those lilies that leak pollen and smell of cheap perfume. They give me awful allergies. It's like he's saying, "Sorry I murdered you. How about some congestion?" I hope the stench is enough to overwhelm the one I'm making one room over. Hey! He draws the word out in uncertainty, glancing around the apartment. You look good. Like I've been at a spa. I don't feel good. I feel like you tried to kill me. There isn't a mark on you. Don't be so dramatic. He rummages around for a vase and sets the lilies on the counter. When he turns back to me, he has a gun in his hand. I'm gonna finish the job this time, and you won't bounce back so quickly. I am not good at vengeance. I didn't even consider he'd try to kill me with a gun. It's a dumb move on his part. People don't hear strangulation, but they sure as hell hear gunfire. All of my silly little knives laugh at me from around the apartment. You think you can break up with me? Me? A little no one like you? His face is turning red. So is his trigger finger. He grabs an oven mitt and holds it in front of the barrel of the firearm like a silencer. I'm awash with relief, which is something I never thought I'd feel with a gun pointed at me. I didn't want to marry him. Of course I didn't. I know better than to marry a man stupid enough to think a jaunty yellow oven mitt will silence gunfire. The relief is followed by cold dread. He's going to kill me twice in a week. The knife is cold, pressed against the skin of my forearm. I only need a moment, an opportunity. I tried to do right by myself, and now I'm wasting my second chance. I can't come up with something to say. The words are caught in my throat. I see the moment he decides to pull the trigger. His eyes go empty. His hand steadies. I flip the knife forward in my hand and brace myself. Even if he shoots me, maybe I can take him out too. I forgot about the cat, and clearly Sean did too. Stella hurls herself from the counter in a ball of angry claws and fangs. The force of her small body throws his gun hand wide. It's a moment, an opportunity. My knife slides into his neck in the hollow under his chin. Blood curtains down, hot over my hand, and I twist the blade. His eyes are wide and shocked. The cat is ravaging his hand, and the gun slips from his fingers, falling to the floor with a thump. His body falls soon after. Stella and I sit on the floor of the kitchen, watching his body for a long time. I don't feel satisfied, exactly. But it's not every day that one can avenge her own murder. It's hard to put a finger on my emotions. A comfortable numbness. I run my palm over the cat's silky fur as she purrs. There's blood around her muzzle. I don't clean up my crime. I'm dead one room over, and my fingerprints belong in this apartment. Either way, I'm done here. There's another one of him to deal with, I say to Stella, and then pause before laughing to myself quietly. Although if I go missing in my world, he'll have to explain why my dead severed fingers are being stored in my freezer. Almost tempting. The cat licks a patch of blood off my hand and chirps a little meow. As we leave the kitchen, she gives a strangled yelp, and I round the counter behind her, knife in hand. Stella is frozen on the edge of the tile, staring at a small figure on the living room sofa. I freeze next to her. There's a warping in the light near the fireplace. The new cat in the living room has a human finger in her mouth and love in her eyes.
And we're back. That was Love Tokens by Constance Fay. This story reminded me that we don't ever really know what's going on in other people's lives. The next time I meet someone who I think has too many cats, I'm not going to rush to judgment. At least, not until after I've looked in their freezer and counted how many severed human fingers they have in there. Constance says this story was inspired by her cat Sundance, who, if she was able, would almost definitely avenge her murder. I don't think my cats would avenge my murder. Thunder would probably just yell at me for being dead, and Sephi would wait politely for me to come back to life. The boyfriend in this story is officially the most evil character to appear in CatsCast, at least so far. I mean, the murder was bad, but the worst thing he did was bring lilies into a house with a cat. Every part of the lily is extremely toxic to cats. Even a tiny amount of lily pollen can be fatal. This has been a public service announcement thinly disguised as story commentary. For cat pictures, cat story recommendations, and more, follow CatsCast Pod on Twitter. We'd love to hear from you there or on the Escape Artists Discord server, Facebook, or Instagram. Today's cover cat is CatsCast's own supervising editor, Thunder. We'll be back next month, for early access patrons that means tomorrow, with episode 9 on the Escape Artists Premium content feed, and in December with episode 10 on both feeds. In the meantime, you can find more narrative goodness on our weekly sister podcasts, Escape Pod for Science Fiction, Podcastle for Fantasy, Pseudopod for Horror, and Cast of Wonders for YA. Today's episode is brought to you by audio producers Wilson Fowley and Dave Robison, associate editors Kitty Sarkozy and Tarver Nova, and me, editor Laura Pearlman. Our opening and closing music is Easy Lemon by Kevin MacLeod. CatsCast is a production of Escape Artists Incorporated and is brought to you with a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International License. Don't change it, don't sell it, please do share it. CatsCast relies on listener donations, so thank you so much if you've already donated. You can support us and all the other EA podcasts by donating via patreon.com/EA podcasts or through the website escapeartist.net. You can also help us out by leaving a review or rating at Apple Podcasts or wherever you normally leave those things. CatsCast is distributed monthly on the Escape Artists Premium content feed. A separate public CatsCast feed gets a subset of those episodes. More details can be found in the show notes or at escapeartist.net/CatsCast. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep in touch!